Bath, that is the pools of Bethesda. Okay, that's where we were this morning. So that's what it would have looked like. And the sick and the lame and all those hung out in that central portico, waiting for the angels to stir the water in the southern pool, this one, the lower one. And presumably when the water flowed from the higher pool to the lower pool, and they allowed it to come through, it made sort of mixed up the water, so maybe that was the angel that stirred the water. And they got in, whoever got into that pool was the one that was healed. All right, so that's what the pools of Bethesda would have looked like. And then we walked out through the little gate, wherever it is over here, okay, which today, of course, there is a Turkish gate sitting there, but by the time Stephen is martyred, the third wall is always already in place. Stephen is martyred after 44 AD. All right, so that gate there corresponds more or less with the gate that we walked out of this morning and came down to the bus. All right, makes sense?
If we only could remember it.
You can ask questions if you need. Otherwise, we're going to walk through to the area of the shrine of the book. I mean, if you don't understand something, this is your chance, okay? Because when you see the city like this, you're going to have to picture it when we walk around the city in the next few days, okay?
Could you the height we were walking on just now at the temple area?
Yeah, it's the same height.
That's the same height?
Because where you saw that piece where Chuck stopped with the Kaufman theory, you know, the dome of the tablets, the spirit, that area, that is part of the solid bedrock.
Okay.
Okay, so it's up this northern area of the Temple Mount path. And of course, this is showing you more or less according to mainstream Judaism, you know, what you think that the temple stood more or less like the Dome of the Rock, although of course, if you take the Dome of the Rock, then where we were at the Eastern Gate doesn't quite line up the gates. That's why a lot of people went with the Kaufman theory, because there it lines up.
Could you just point out again where the Gentile court is and where
Okay,
the
the court of the Gentiles is, you have to kind of look over the top of the wall, all right, and then you'll see, before you get to sort of the crenulated wall around the temple with the towers, you go down some steps, and then there's a little stone balustrade all the way down there. That is, anything outside of that, all this area around is the court of the Gentiles. All right, and then the rest is Jewish. So everybody could mass around in the area of the court of the Gentiles, the Roman soldiers and everyone. Only the Jews could go through the balustrade. And then the area of the scourging was in the area of the Antonia fortress. When we go there on Friday, we will be on a little piece of the pavement that is inside the four towers. All right, there's a little piece of pavement that still exists of the Antonia, and we'll be on it on Friday, except we'll be in the basement of the convent of the Sisters of Zion. So you're going to have to imagine that you're in the Antonia.
And what was the Antonia?
It was a massive fortress built by Herod. He honored his good friend Mark Antony, you know, who married Queen Cleopatra, but he went to school with Mark Antony in Rome. And so they were always good buddies, and he always hoped that being, you know, good to Mark Antony would keep Cleopatra's desires on Herod's kingdom at a minimum.
So there would have been a garrison there?
Yes, there's always a garrison there.
And was there not one near Herod's house, or am I thinking of the temple guard? Or?
The garrison was always kept at the Antonia near the temple. The main body of the soldiers were always stationed there. We know that 3 legions were stationed at the Antonia at different times. One was the 10th, one was the 12th, and one was the 15th. And you will see signs that the symbol of the 12th Legion is actually scratched into the pavement that we'll see. All right.
Inside the wall is the outer court?
The outer court is the outer court is whatever you see between the sort of towers and the balustrade and this piece over here, the big bit of the Temple Mount. Yeah.
Is there
Jane?
significance with that door that locked that gate?
This little one here, or that one? Oh, that one is because I mean, that's the way he's designed it to look like you would expect a big gate of a fortress to be, you know, to stop anyone coming in.
Jane, talk a little bit about Pilate and how often he would have been there.
Pilate came 3 times a year, for sure. I mean, he came at those 3 feasts. of Passover. Passover being, remember, the most political. He would have been here for sure at Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost. And he would have been here at the time of Tabernacles. Otherwise, he's sitting in Caesarea, in the main administrative area, but certainly he came to Jerusalem. And the educated guess is that he's at the Antonia. You will read books that some of them say that Pilate went to where Herod's palace was, Herod the Great, at the area back over there. But that's a different theory altogether. If that's the case, then where did Antipas go? We don't think that they hung out together in the same building, and it makes more sense that the son of Herod the Great would have taken residence in what was his father's palace. But it's all a bit of conjecture. But for sure, because the legion is stationed at the Antonia, that the scourging would have taken place there.
Did the Gentiles enter through the same door as the Jews, even though they had to stay?
No, they came through a different doorway. They didn't go up through those white steps and so on. No.
King Herod got his deity, or whatever it is, not deity, but from Miriam. And was she from the line of Hezekiah?
No, she's from the line of the Hasmoneans, which was considered to be the royal family that takes over after Judah the Maccabee gets out the Greeks. And they're from the Aaronic, is that the right word? From the Aaron's line. Yeah?
Aaron's line.
Yeah. From the priestly
Oh, I see.
too.
Okay.
They were not only the kings, but they were the priests too. And Herod makes quite sure he gets rid of all of them. After he gets rid of all the Hasmoneans, he doesn't only get rid of the royal family, but he gets rid of all the priests too. He brings in a new priesthood mostly from Alexandria and so on. And so that's why the corruption really starts to set in with the priests.
So the Levites at one point were the kings and the priests at the same time?
At some point, yeah. It could be. Okay, we are going to... Any other questions? Are you all okay? All right, so let's go to the Shrine of the Word, which is going this way.
Oh yeah, there's.
Yeah, the first one, like it but in the second one,
Whole mess and everything, because you usually made a statue of somebody that was important in the town, apart from all the different gods, etc. You used to get these statues of whoever they are. So the statues are usually made out of marble. And we don't have marble in this country. The limestone was never had enough pressure on it to make it marble, so all the marble had to come from Asia Minor, that is Turkey and Greece and so on. And so usually what happened, by the time they got the marble here, whoever they wanted to make the statue of was long since gone. And so what they decided to do was that they would make the bodies, right? And then all they had to do was have a small piece of marble, and you make the head. And then you could keep a stock of small lumps of marble, and each time the governor or whoever changed, all you had to do was get a new head and stick it on the same body. And so it was very easy for the Muslims to destroy it. They just knocked off, any of the heads. They had a way of sort of fixing it. They couldn't see. And it was very easy. I mean, even if you go in the Vatican today, there's a whole area of just heads. Because, there in Rome it got really corrupt as well. And you can see hundreds of heads that they just replaced on the same bodies. That seemed the most ideal, speedy way, cheap way of doing it. So here you see all these people, don't know who they are.
So with it. So what you're saying is with a change of power, heads would roll?
That might be an interesting expression, actually. Maybe that's where it comes from. Huh?
That's his name?
Yeah. Just like honey, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, honey. So they're spraying water on the roof, huh? You see that?
No.
Yeah. They're spraying water constantly on the roof.
Huh.
Wonder if that's to cool it off.
yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah.
Christ was only high priest and king at the same time. I thought that's what Hebrews
It's in the shrine of the book.
Zechariah.
Don't even try to take pictures, all right? Make sure your cameras are away because it won't last long if you've got